and stayed healthy the entire year. If we find one we think is the best, that could happen. But if not, then, 2 or 3 quarterbacks could play. Just have to wait it out. Wait and see.
You've mentioned the effort of last year several times, and again today. At what point last year did that start to bother you?
Well, I guess I mentioned it because that dang Auburn game was on TV the other day. I was on the treadmill walking, and the SEC channel had our game with Auburn on. It was a little disappointing watching that. But again, we all watched it. We all know that it wasn't good enough last year. So, but as bad as it was, our guys did hang in there and win 3 of the last 4 games somehow. How we won that game down in the swamp, I'm trying to figure out, but we did. And we managed to win the bowl game against Miami. So we finished on a very positive note for all of us, players and coaches, to get us going through spring practice and into the off season. So for as bad as it was at times, it was pretty good at the end.
You felt like it got better. You felt like they changed in terms of the effort that they were playing with.
Well, somewhat. Just overall, it wasn't good enough. I think we'll all agree.
Singled out Debo a couple of different times in this preseason. What specifically has he shown you that makes you think he's ready?
I just think he's caught a few more balls than most of the other receivers, and he's been healthy all through spring ball. So, we certainly believe he's a solid player. But then again, he hasn't played in the real games, and neither's a lot of these other players. Jarrell Adams, I'm hoping Jarrell will become an all-conference tight end. I just think he has more ability than we've been able to get out of him, because he potentially could be a big-time tight end receiver for us. Other than that, I don't need to mention a whole bunch of names, but right now, if we were filling out a starting lineup, Debo would be on the other side of Farrell.
Coach, how much will you move Farrell around in the offense? So being that folks probably going to double him, we see him in the Wildcat, move him around.
Yeah, Corey, got to move him around. Obviously, most teams will say when that number 11 gets it, we got to get 1 or 2 guys around him or what have you. But yeah, we'll move him all over the place. He'll be some in the Wildcat. We'll put Nunez in there with him sometimes too. See what that does. But we got to get the ball to Farrell. He's also our returning leading passer. I don't know if you knew that or not, Josh. You did know that? He's thrown for more yards than anybody on the team right now. I don't know if any school in America can say that. A non-quarterback is the leading returning passer, but he is our leader right now. So I'm sure you guys knew that, but just filling in for you. Right, Rick?
Has John Hoke brought what you hope to the defense so far?
Well, we haven't played yet. Yeah. You know that, don't you? Yeah, we haven't played yet. Yeah, we haven't played anybody yet. No, John and I were together, as all of you know, 3 years down at Florida. We led the conference last year in total defense, scoring defense. We both went to the NFL. He lasted 13 years, and I lasted 2. So, but anyway, yeah, it's worked out. One of his daughters is enrolled here at South Carolina. Another one's at Arkansas, playing soccer there. So it was a good time that he was able to move. Kids are out of school, so he's flexible and ready to go. So yeah, we think we're going to be better coached all the way around. And I think it's good that Coach Ward and Coach Adams are working with the D-line and linebackers.
Steve Spurrier from his press conference today over at USC following his media golf outing. We'll talk about what Spurrier had to say, take a couple of phone calls as well, 800-956-7266. Back in a moment. one thing that has struck me about Spurrier's comments this summer, and in particular going back to SEC Media Days, through the SEC Car Wash, through today, is, and maybe I was misguided, coming out of spring practice, he did not name Connor Mitch as the starting quarterback. He did not identify a leader at quarterback. He said it would be a competition over the summer into the fall, and he would see who would emerge. But my take on it, coming out of spring practice, based on who was running with the number one that appeared the most, was Connor Mitch. Yet there has not been any endorsement of him at this point in time in any form or fashion to indicate that he's going to be the starting quarterback. So this thing might truly be wide open going into camp next week with any of the four in a position to emerge. And I believe, regardless of who the starter is, I believe that Lorenzo Nunez, there will be a definite package for him as a running quarterback to be implemented during specific times and specific games. So I'm a little bit surprised by all of that with Mitch. He's the guy that's got the most experience, third year in the program. And nobody has any appreciable experience in terms of snaps, but he is the guy that's been in the program, sucking it all in and sitting in the quarterback meetings. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing when it comes to looking ahead to this season and who's going to be the quarterback.
Yeah, I think Spurrier, I think really Connor Shaw was an asterisk on Spurrier's coaching career, because I think he always likes to have that sense of urgency from his quarterback. You're not the starter yet, son. But he had no choice with Connor Shaw his senior year. Everybody knew you weren't going to move him out of that spot. Mm-hmm. But that's rare for Spurrier.
Well, it's been a while, though, because he's not afraid to pull him. But Steven Garcia was an established starter his last few years until he ran into the issues at the end when he was kicked off the team and Shaw took over. And then Shaw was the established starter, no question there. And then Dylan Thompson going into last season, there was no question. So you have to go back 4 or 5 years to find the last time where South Carolina had this many questions going into the season, maybe back to the Tommy Beecher start of the season and they went into Chris Smelly. And then they finally found Garcia, I think, a year later. But it's been a while since the Gamecocks have had this big of a question mark at that position.
One of the differences is, and I can't remember with Garcia, did he start cold turkey at the beginning of the season? Did he play much in a reserve role? My point is, Connor Shaw relieved Garcia and got playing time before he became the full-time starter. Dylan Thompson replaced Connor Shaw several times because of injuries and got playing time before he became the full-time starter. None of these guys have any playing time to speak of, and thus South Carolina will be going cold turkey with a brand new quarterback with very limited. As you heard him say, Pharaoh Cooper is the returning leading passer for the Gamecock football team.
And also you figure that North Carolina puts on the tape, they don't know who the quarterback is going to be, so they don't know.
Well, that could be advantage South Carolina in terms of the game plan going into North Carolina. But you'd like to have you heard Spurrier say he'd like one of those quarterbacks to make it easy for them, emerge and be the clear leader. G.A. Manga's coming up.
No, I'm not surprised at all. The expectation is they all know what to do and they throw the ball to the right guy, and they did all spring, so their stats were all pretty level. But Connor had a good spring.
All right, we continue our coverage of USC football media day, so to speak, over at Cobblestone Park after the media golf outing. We heard from Steve Spurrier talking about the upcoming season. All eyes in practice, those that'll be allowed in, will be on the quarterback battle. It is wide open amongst four going into camp. G.A. Mangus, the quarterback's coach, passing game coordinator, he talked with the media this afternoon, and he talked about the battle and the fact that even with Connor Mitch being in the program now going on 3 years, he's not emerged as the guy, and he's not surprised by that.
No, I'm not surprised at all. The expectation is they all know what to do and they throw the ball to the right guy, and they did all spring, so their stats were all pretty level. But Connor had a good spring, and was where we expected him to be in the spring. And again, those Perry's older as well, and he knows where to go with the ball. He knows the offense. He knows what we should be in based on what the defense is in, and they just have to keep going and improving that. But it's nice to have a lot of guys. Ohio State had 3 of them, and that all evidently knew what to do. And so if you think you recruit pretty good players and they know what to do, then the expectation is they can go in there and go play. So it's nice that we have a room full of guys that all know what to do, and we think we have success as long as we have some people around them to do that. So it's going to be a fun August.
Important is game experience, because in years past, there's always been a guy that's taken a lot of snaps, thrown a lot of balls as a backup. You don't have that guy this year. Is that something that you can't replicate it in practice? How important is it?
Head coaches always, at some point in time, coach their first game. Defensive tackles always made their first tackle in a game, and quarterbacks always eventually take their first snap in a game. We all took our first steps when we walked the first time. Sometimes it's 9 months, sometimes it's 10 months, sometimes it's 12 months. At some point in time, you just got to go play, and that's why you recruit as hard as you can on a yearly basis and try to bring in guys. And then when it's their turn, you hope that they're ready to go. And it just so happens we have a little bit of a gap from Dillon down to the younger guys, with a transfer here or there, and but that happens. That's college football, and they just didn't get a chance to get many reps last year. So this is their chance and their opportunity. But in practice, they've gotten a lot of reps, and we'll just, game experience, grass experiences as much as anything, and then they either have it to be able to play with the lights on or they don't. But they've all gotten a lot of reps.
What does Lorenzo bring for the folks that we've seen all the other ones play? What does Lorenzo bring to the table?
Well, he's obviously a very athletic kid. He ran, a lot of quarterback runs in high school. And they kind of had a little bit different of an offense, and they were more of a running team than they were a passing team. But, he's got good height. He's got, he's smart. He loves football. He's gone from kind of a tall, skinny kid to popping on some weight. He looks good right now. He's competitive. He's played some defense before, and even last year, I saw him play, and he was playing corner, in the game at one time. So, we think he's a tough kid, and he's just got to go play. That's where the experience is. He's now got to get experience at the college level, and he'll get a chance to do that the next couple of weeks.
With an improved defense, will you ask your quarterbacks, because they're so young and kind of growing into things, just to don't make mistakes, don't do things to lose the game, and maybe play a little more conservative with them, because maybe you can lean on the defense more?
Well, we'll see. That's like Coach just said a few minutes ago. That's why we play the games. We'll see how they go. Every game is different. Sometimes there's games when the quarterback needs to go out there and throw it all over the yard, and sometimes you just need to manage the game. And sometimes that changes from half to half, depending on how the game goes. So we'll see here in time. But, the expectations are that the guys are educated on the system and that they can go in there and perform whatever we ask of them. And they know, not turning the ball over and playing smart is always something that we demand. And that's not going to change. That hasn't changed, over the last 6 years, so they all know that they did a good job in the spring predominantly of taking care of the ball. And we've taken care of the ball here a lot the last few years, and it's really helped us, in wins and losses. And so that'll always be an expectation, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's always conservative.
GA, Coach last week delivered a pretty forceful message about his intentions here with this program. Not that you guys had any questions, but what do you think that does for everybody's morale? I mean, on the team, when they hear that, they've got to be pretty enthused about the direction this place is going.
Yeah. I think you just have to look at it as an overall thing and look at our kids. Our guys they're happy people. They're enthusiastic kids. That's what we kind of look for when we're recruiting kids. You want kids that love it, that love football and love life and smile a lot. And we got a lot of guys around our locker room that smile a lot. And so they're generally happy people. And anytime, your head coach is excited and all that, and he's fired up. He's excited, and it's football season. It's on us. And so I think everybody's excited, and that, give a little burst. But at the end of the day, when practice starts next week, it's all about focusing and doing your job. And we all have 29 practices to get ready to roll before the opener.
This is the first time in a number of years that you're going to go into a season with a quarterback where, nobody outside of the coaching staff knows what to expect from this guy. I mean, you can go back. They kind of knew what Dylan could do. They kind of knew what Connor could do after filling in for Garcia and on back down the line. Is that a little scary to you as a coaching staff to kind of go into the season with this kind of unknown at quarterback?
Nah. I mean, you do it long enough, you always have years when you have different people that have to step up. And this year, we've got a lot of new guys on offense playing. We've had a lot of guys that played over that last handful of years. A lot of those guys, they played when they were young. There was a time when it was, I remember a few years ago, I think you asked me about, I never had a guy that had taken a snap as a backup, so, that wasn't scary then, and it's not now. These guys they all know what to do. If they didn't know what to do, and I didn't feel good about where they were at in terms of their knowledge and all that, then we probably would be. But it's, they've all played a lot and performed on the practice field, and they've done well. They all had pretty good springs, and again, we don't worry about them. They've had wonderful summers, hard working, put in the time, and now it's just a matter of going out and executing.
All right, G.A. Mangus from earlier today over at Cobblestone Park talking about the quarterback situation, which is going to be in the dark for all of us who are not allowed into practice. Now, Spurrier did say when they practice at Williams-Brice, the scrimmages on Saturday, those will be open, he believes, to the public. But all the practices over the new practice facility, those will be to the media and the public, and we'll see what comes out of that as the weeks progress. Quickly, let's jump to the phone calls, 800-956-7266. Bob and Casey, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Good evening, Phil. Good evening, Tom. Good evening, Kevin. How are you gentlemen doing this evening?
We're outstanding. We thank you for joining us. Yes, sir.
Well, yes, sir. I got an opinion here. I'll use a word Tom probably knows. Atrocious. Looking at Lindy's, I'll cite my source, their ACC annual. North Carolina, its defensive line is 13th out of 14. Linebackers, 14th out of 14. Secondary, 13th out of 14. And 13th out of 14 in special teams. So they're forced up at the plate, so to speak, to use a baseball term, on September 3rd in game one. So whoever Steve Spurrier or Connor, whatever Coach Mangus throws out there, that'll be a great confidence booster because it looks like North Carolina's defense is atrocious, horrible.
Well, they were last year, but you could say the same thing about South Carolina's. North Carolina defensively, I don't disagree with you that there's a lot of names on here that I don't recognize from a recruiting standpoint. Now, I do There's Eric Brian Walker, a junior. He was a pretty heavily recruited player. Alan Artis, another. But they've they got some guys here that I'm not all that familiar with, and it doesn't take away from what they might become.
They got
this
Gene
coming
Chizik
year
in the house.
Well, Gene Chizik is known for building defenses, and that's what they're hanging their hat on.
Let's face it, North Carolina's had a hothouse of growing defensive linemen out of nowhere.
Well, they have. I don't know if this group has one or not. All right, let's wrap up our day with the USC coaching staff. John Hoke, Gamecocks' new defensive coordinator, his first experience with the Spurrier Media Golf Tournament, his first opportunity to watch me in action. I think he was impressed with my 59. Well, I was part of a team that shot 59. On to football, however. He inherits a team defensively, one of the worst in the country last year, but his boss says they're going to be much improved. And in talking about the secondary, which he will coach, we asked him how the secondary will improve.
I just expect improvement every day. I mean, that's the biggest thing. We can't give up big plays, and we need to make sure that when we have the opportunity to make plays, we make them.
What do you see from the guys this summer and what you saw in the spring as far as how they took to what you were teaching them and the kind of group they are?
It's a good group. They're good guys, good group of men. We just need to continue to work on consistency with techniques, alignments, those type of things.
You think they're picking it up pretty well?
I think so. They're working at it. I can't say they're not, the effort's there, but we still got a ways to go.
The word we hear compared to last year is things have just been simplified to some degree to allow the players to use their athletic skills, when last year maybe they were overthinking things. Do you see it that way?
I couldn't tell you because I didn't spend a whole lot of time on what they did a year ago. I just know defensively the whole key is to allow them to play fast and allow them to play physical. And they need to make sure they understand assignment, alignment, technique, and key on every snap. And if always the thought process, it'll be simple enough so they can play fast and physical. And if we're not doing that, then we need to take some things out or we need to cut down on what we're doing.
How much are you helped by the fact that a number of the newcomers are older guys? They're coming from junior college, they're coming from prep school. You got a transfer veteran. How much does that help you right away?
Well, it helps just because they've been around football a little bit longer. They have more reps in the game. Football is still a rep game. And so that helps from that standpoint.
You feel the pass rush coming from Lewis and Sawyer is going to be a major factor compared to what, last year they had a lot of trouble getting pressure on the quarterback?
Couldn't tell you that. Hope so. Hope we do a good job teaching pass rush. I think hope we put our guys in position to be able to rush the passer. We got to do a good job, though, on first and second down so we can earn the right to rush the passer on third down. So we got a ways to go.
John, how's the blending been between you and Lorenzo? Just kind of coordinating things.
It's been easy. Lorenzo, the first time I really met Lorenzo, he was with the Raiders and I was in Houston. So we kind of saw each other at combines and those type of things. So we've kind of known each other. And I knew him when he was at Virginia Tech. And obviously that program's done a great job. Bud does a great job on defense there. So.
And the two styles for between you and he have kind of melded together pretty well. Yeah.
I don't know that I have a style, so I'm just going out to teach football every day.
How has recruiting changed since you were in college the first time around?
Probably a little bit more with the social media part of it, but that's kind of our society. Social media has become a big part of it.
Have you gotten settled back into the recruiting aspect of things?
Yeah, and I tell you what, the staff takes, Steve Jr. has done a great job helping me along the way. Hey, you need to be aware of this or be aware of that. So I've had a lot of help with it. So it's been an easy transition.
And just that transition back to somebody you worked with down in Gainesville, has it been as seamless as you thought it would be, the transition going back to working with head ball coach?
Yes, we've known each other. We've stayed in touch for a long time, so we kind of know each other pretty well.
How do you feel about your defensive interior, some of the talent you have there, some of the depth you have in that part of your defense? You like what you have to work with there?
Well, we got some new guys. I like the effort that the guys that we had in the spring gave and how they started to pick up the techniques we were teaching. And then, right now we wait and see how those other guys do.
And your linebackers, and they're veteran guys. Could they be as good as a group as most in the SEC?
We hope. Again, we still got to go play. And that's all we're waiting to do.
What do you like about them as a group?
I think they're athletic. I think they've got good speed, and I like their instincts.
All right, John Hoke, USC's defensive coordinator. He's a very serious-minded individual. In talking to him in an interview setting, he's not a guy to joke around with or sit down and just have a little casual conversation with, as far as I can tell. It's all business with him, and he doesn't mince words in talking about his defense or positions or personnel.
It sounded a little bit like Kevin Steele, didn't it?
Boy, it's not quite as deep. Not as gooey. Kevin still has that deep PD Dillon County drawl is just deep and gooey and southern. Yeah. But I get the feeling that John Hoke is not a guy that is going to be real flowery in talking about his defense, and just going to be very basic, just blocking, tackling, and making plays and doing your assignments, that kind of thing, It's his style. It's his way of doing things. And
nobody will care as long as they get the job done.
Yeah, I think based on what we know about him, what we've seen, there's no doubt that they're going to be well coached back there with him. All right, recruiting now. Today, USC got a commitment from defensive end Jordan Smith, Lithonia, Georgia, considered one of the top prospects in that state for 2016. He also had offers Clemson, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, many others. He liked the facilities at South Carolina, liked the comfortable feeling he got at South Carolina. Said it was a tough decision, spent a lot of long nights with his coach, his mom, and his dad. But he just said that South Carolina just felt like home to him. Considered a high-level pass rusher off the edge, 71 tackles, 18.5 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks. He thinks he'll be a good fit at South Carolina with his speed, his pass rush, all the above. And he says he can stop the run as well. We may be talking to him or his coach. They're in practice right now. We may have them with us in the next hour. Offensive lineman Landon Dickerson, Hudson, North Carolina, will carry his recruiting into the fall, has a list of 6 favorites, but is also opening himself up to new schools. And he visited Auburn, Florida State, Georgia, and Virginia Tech earlier this month and has no more visits planned right now. His favorite 6 are USC, Florida State, Tennessee, Virginia Tech, Michigan, Auburn. He's got officials to Michigan September 12th and Auburn November 27th, no later. Clemson running back commitment Tavian Feaster of Spartanburg went on Twitter last night to say, quote, "I'm committed to Clemson," end quote. This after he visited Tennessee and had some nice things to say about the Vols, but he says now he is committed to Clemson. Linebacker T.J. Brunson, Richland Northeast, Louisville commitment, but he heard last week from USC linebackers coach Kurt Botkin. He said the Gamecocks remain interested. He's not totally closed the door on them or others. Defensive end Josh Brown of Charlotte Florida State commitment. He said the commitment remains very solid to the point he's not sure he'll visit any other schools this fall. He was at USC's camp in late June, was invited to the pool party but could not make it. He's kept in touch with recruiter Kurt Botkin. Offensive lineman Ashton Julius of Florence heading back to Lackawanna Junior College in Pennsylvania Monday. No more visits planned before returning to school. He did talk to USC recruiter Sean Elliott earlier in the week, just said he was checking up on him. He's got an official visit to Oklahoma October 24th. He won't make a decision until after that. No other officials have been scheduled. He has been talking to USC, West Virginia, Illinois, Arizona State, Central Florida, and Iowa State about visits during the season. Running back Jordan Brown of Durham was at USC on Tuesday. The Gamecocks are one of his offers, no favorites right now. Defensive lineman David Marshall, Thomaston, Georgia, released the top 5 in order. Ole Miss and Auburn tied at the top, followed by Alabama, Miami, and Clemson. Defensive back Deion Edwards of Lake Minneola, Florida, committed to Arkansas. He was a USC target. 2018 defensive end Xavier Thomas of Wilson issued a top 5 in order. Florida State, Clemson, USC, Tennessee, and Georgia. Top of the hour break, and we'll be back.
Well, let's see. How can I be politically correct here? I think the best thing is, I issued a statement on that yesterday, which kind of
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Wednesday night edition from downtown Columbia. Our studios on Main Street, which is why Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Glad you're with us tonight. Hope you've had a great day trying to stay cool. The heat, it too, will pass at some point, just not in the immediate future, I'm afraid. 800-956-7266, the number. Back to the phones we go, and it is Tiger Bryan in Lancaster with us next. Hello, Tiger Bryan.
Hey, Phil, how y'all doing tonight?
We are just doing so fine, it's not fair.
I know it ain't.
I mean, how many people have completed the South Carolina Media Grand Slam in golf? I mean, really, how many? Raise your hands. You can count that on one
anything
finger.
like the Serena
I
Slam?
heard you was on the team that shot that now. You didn't tell me what you shot now.
Well, it was a team thing. It was captain's choice, and that means it was Spurrier's choice. And now we shot 59 as a team, and I was a major part of that.
Oh, you're a pretty good golfer, eh?
I let others make that assessment.
I got a question for you now.
Yes.
It's just straight up question. Now. How many over the last 4 or 5 years, how many junior college kids have been on South Carolina's team compared to Clemson's? Yeah.
Now, Clemson doesn't recruit junior college players anymore.
Exactly right. We groom our own kids. We don't let somebody else do their homework and get them in college and play them.
I mean, that's an approach that Clemson has chosen to take from either administration at the top or their football program. Nothing wrong with taking junior college players. I mean, you get an older, more mature guy.
Kansas State, look what they've done with their junior college players.
There's a reason you go to junior college. I'll give you that. There's one or two reasons you go to junior college. One, because of academics, or two, because you didn't have good offers and you want to elevate your recruiting status. Usually it's the former. And if they've done the work, they've made it more difficult for junior college players to get into major college, but they want to make sure that they're making progress towards a degree. So when you get that junior college guy in camp, he's pretty much well down the road towards getting his degree when he gets there.
Yeah, and I understand that. Hey, Clemson University, my son's in the proof in the pudding. He's an engineer now. I mean, we educate. We're not just a football school. We're an educating school,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't worry about our defense this year, guys. Hey, they're going to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they're going to show up and they're going to be there. But how much are they going to take a step back from last year? You know they are. I mean, if you're honest with yourself, Clemson fans, you know your defense is going to be not as good as last year's defense. There's just no way that it can be. The question is how much. It might be just a little bit, or it could be a lot. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes here on a very busy Wednesday night. South Carolina, as you heard in our recruiting report, picked up a big-time commitment today out of the state of Georgia. Another of Georgia's top players choosing the Gamecocks, Jordan Smith, defensive end from Lithonia, Georgia, announcing a commitment today to South Carolina. He had Georgia, Clemson, Florida, Tennessee all high up on his list, but he chose to commit to South Carolina. He joins us now on the phone from Lithonia after just finishing up practice this afternoon. Jordan, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Cocky.
Feeling cocky. Well, the Gamecock fans are certainly happy to know you're feeling cocky. What made you feel cocky enough to pick the Gamecocks?
Well, you know, I have a relationship with two of the players. They played with me back in high school. One of them played with me in high school. You know, one of them came before I got there, and you know, I got a good chance, you know, to get a relationship with the coaches, and I just felt like, you know, South Carolina was where I needed to be.
Yeah, you came in for the camp back in June and got a chance to see everything and get a closer look at the program. What did you like about what you saw then?
I like the town itself. You know, I like the new facilities they got. You know, the football facilities and the new the living arrangement they got for my class coming in. You know, I like the campus and all the academic centers.
In talking with Lorenzo Ward and John Hoke and Deke Adams, the defensive coaches, what are they telling you about what they like about you and how you would fit in with their defense?
They told me I fit in some of what Clowney did, you know, right in.
Pass rusher extraordinaire, is that what you excel at?
Really all around, but, you know, I mostly excel at pass rusher.
Mm-hmm. Why is that? What makes you a good pass rusher?
My speed.
And what is your speed?
Well, I'm very fast off ball. I run a 4.69.
Mm-hmm. And I have you listed at about 6'6", 230 pounds?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Do you foresee yourself being in a position when you get to South Carolina, based on what they've told you, do you think you'll be a guy that can come in and play early on, or will you need a little bit of time to get used to SEC football?
I'll probably come in and if I work hard, you know, get the weight on, I'll probably play right away.
You mentioned that you have a relationship with a couple of the players. Who were those players, and what did they tell you about the experience at South Carolina?
David Johnson and Cedric Cooper. They was just, you know, telling me how it was at South Carolina and you know, about all the coaches and how it is down there.
You know, South Carolina and Coach Ward in particular, he gets a lot of players from your area right there in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Amongst many of those schools. You know, and you've got Georgia there, and you've got Georgia Tech, you've got Clemson, and all those other schools that like hit that area. Amongst you guys, what is it that makes South Carolina appealing to you?
South Carolina it just feels like home. You know, they're very humble people. You know, they're very down to earth, and just, you know, it feels good to be there.
I remember you came out of the camp at South Carolina. You spoke to some of the media guys outside across the street, and at that time you were favoring Clemson. Then you went to Georgia for Dog Night, and I'm sure that they were making a strong push for you as well. How did it come down at the very end? When did South Carolina sort of move to the front and reach a position where they were going to stay at the front?
When I found out how they were going to use me at defensive end and in the 4-3 scheme, and then I found out how Coach Spurrier, he's gonna keep out his contract and stay the rest of his contract. So, you know, that made it kind of a lot easier.
Yeah, that's a good point you brought up. You heard Spurrier's comments, I guess, about his coaching future, and that made a big impression on you. The fact that he has said he's gonna be there 5 years or longer.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Georgia, the fact that they prefer a 3-4 defense, what did they talk to you about as far as how they wanted to play you, and how did that affect your decision?
They wanted me to play like an outside linebacker, like Lorenzo Carter and Leonard Floyd.
So they wanted you standing up.
But yes.
Yeah, but you prefer having your hand down and rushing from a 3-point stance?
Yes.
Very good. Of course, it's a long way to February. You being a Georgia guy, they're going to, I'm sure Georgia and the fans there will come at you pretty hard. You feel pretty confident this commitment will hold up and you'll be there in February to sign with South Carolina?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. What do you focus on? I know you want to focus on your team and winning a championship, but your own personal game, your own skills, what do you focus on this season, your senior year, to improve on and be ready for that next step?
Just get stronger and get more in shape because at the way we play, I'm gonna be playing both sides of the ball. I'm gonna be playing all game long, so I just got to get stronger and just learn on getting better in shape.
Very good. Are you trying to graduate early?
It's a thought right now. I'm thinking about graduate early, but I'm not sure if it'll be all the way going through.
Sure. Well, congratulations once again. How does it feel to have the decision made now and be able to focus on your senior year of high school?
Really good.
Can relax a little bit, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, we appreciate you being with us and have a great season. We'll keep in touch with you. Hope things go well and stay healthy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Jordan Smith, defensive end, 6'6", 230. To me, having seen him,
Oh, here it comes,
No,
folks.
he's got the look,
Corey Robinson.
look of John Abraham to me. Now, Pro points out that John Abraham wasn't 6'6", he's a little smaller, a little shorter.
Mm-hmm.
But having met Jordan Smith and then looking at his dimensions and what he kind of excels at and focuses on, he kind of hints to me at kind of a John Abraham.
John Abraham's
type
an
of guy.
interesting case in that he played 1 year of high school football, played on a team that wouldn't win a game, and was the 12th pick in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he plays corn, does he play like John Abraham? When you've watched him play, actually,
I've never seen him play.
Oh, okay.
I didn't say that.
Now,
I said he played like I said physically.
Now,
just
here's the
looking at him and
here's the interesting thing
reminds me
about
of
John Abraham. They took away, the NFL took away one of his patented moves late in his career, and that is he was so quick, he sweep under the line of scrimmage. You know, he ducked down and they took that away. They say you can't do that anymore. And apparently he did that because he got to the quarterback too many times.
What do you mean he
Okay, instead of it, you stand up to engage the blocker.
Right.
He would duck down and swim his way under the line of scrimmage. He would go under the guy.
So now what's that called? Is that a penalty if you do that?
Oh, yes. You can't do that
What's
anymore.
it called?
I have no idea.
Going under the – never seen a flag thrown for going under the offensive
Well,
line.
they'll throw it now because they took that away from him.
Maybe Tom Brady did it. Maybe it was Tom Brady that created that rule.
I don't think during his career with the Falcons he played Tom Brady. I don't think.
No, I'm just saying that Tom Brady's everything that's wrong with the NFL right now.
Is he now?
No, but he does prove.
But Alex Rodriguez is everything that's right with Major League Baseball.
Well, I think A-Rod has done a great job this year, saying the right things, doing the right things, just trying to be a baseball player, staying out of the headlines, just hitting home runs, hitting home runs, scoring runs, driving in runs, winning games. It's all he's doing.
How many times
if
has he
there's
been
anything
tested this year?
Wrong with that?
Do they test him every game?
I don't know.
I hope they test him before every game and after. He's the kind of guy that would go into the clubhouse and say he's going to the bathroom and stick a needle in his rear.
I don't think anybody's accused him of any wrongdoing this year.
I'm accusing him right now of potential wrongdoing. I don't trust him as far
But
as
I will say this: a guy who's 190 and he goes in the restroom and uses the needle, guess what? He still probably hits 190.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, you can knock A-Rod all you want. The guy can hit a baseball.
Mm-hmm. He's having a great year. Yankees are having a great year. Have a better record than the Dodgers, as a matter of fact. Oh, yeah. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Scored 21 unanswered runs last night.
Somebody got a save in that game, too. That's the cheapest save ever.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? Because when he came in, it was a save opportunity. And then the Yankees went and scored 11 runs.
You might have been able to close that one out. I mean,
that's an excellent point. I have to go back and look at that box score. I didn't realize somebody got a save in that game. We'll be right back. All right, thanks again to Jordan Smith for joining us tonight here on Sports Talk, the day he commits to USC. If you want to join the program, got a couple of minutes, 800-956-7266, the number. Clemson announced its practice schedule today. The Tigers will begin on August 4th at 4:20, and most of their practices are going to be in the afternoon to early evening. As I check through the schedule, August 10th, they will practice in the morning and in the evening. They'll have 2 practices on August the 10th and 2 practices on August the 12th. And that looks like, and 2 practices on August 17th. So the Tigers will have 3 two-a-days in their practice schedule. I didn't see any two-a-days for USC. Everything in the morning for the most part, except for those scrimmage. Well, the scrimmages will be in the morning. They had
they have one at night. They have a Saturday night scrimmage.
Yeah, for the most part. But
It
everything's
is
in the morning.
strange. He closed them down, and he said they don't have as much room where they are now. But the fact that they're going in the morning where it's going to be a little hotter, maybe. I think it's hotter from 9 to 11 than it would be from 7 to 9.
Yeah, I don't know what the thinking was there. They must have looked into it and just figured out this was the best time for them.
It doesn't
Maybe
rain as much in the morning.
Well, it might. Well, it's almost 6 and 1.5 dozen on the other, because depending on South Carolina weather, as it always is this time of year, the humidity will make it feel like it's hotter in the late evening.
And I think maybe, of course, they're going to have the indoor practice facility here at some point. Don't know exactly when it's going to be ready, but you probably avoid thunderstorms and rain that comes in the late afternoon sometimes by practicing in the morning. That won't be an issue once they get that facility completed here in the near future. So here we go again with a difference between South Carolina and Clemson. Gamecock's going to practice in the morning, just go one a day all the way through, and Clemson's going to practice in the afternoon, early evening, have 3 days where they're going to go twice. Well, I can remember not too many years ago, the two-a-days, that was a staple of the first, week or so of practice, two-a-days, and really made camp seem like a tremendous grind back then, the way they handled football practice when they got the guys back and trying to get them into shape by having those two-a-days. But not anymore. The thinking is you can't stretch them out that way.
Yeah, even NFL teams are a lot easier on their players now. These guys, they're almost like fine-tuned machines, and you have to be easy on them and can't throttle them up too much the way they used to back in the, well, as you would call them, Corn, the good old days.
Well, that's
the good old days.
Let's face it. One of the reasons is, it's anachronistic now, because two-a-days were to get you in shape. If you look at it now, these guys are with a strength coach or whatever, and they're in the weight room and running all year long, so they don't need to get in shape. Ergo, you don't need two-a-days.
Yeah, you're supposed to report in shape.
Yeah, and these guys are, most of them do report in pretty good shape between the offseason conditioning, and it's a year-round thing now.
All right, coming up after the break, the new athletic director at Furman University, Mike Buddy, a former Major League pitcher. He will join us right here on Sports Talk. We'll be right back. And we're back, Sports Talk. Phil Kornbluth, Professor Tom Hayes, and Kevin McCrary, all with you from downtown Columbia. Big day up at Furman, as today the Paladins introduced Mike Buddy as the new athletic director, the 10th athletic director at Furman since 1960, replacing Gary Clark, who is retiring after 15 years of service to Furman. We welcome Mike to Sports Talk for the first time, and I like you already. You're a former Yankee. You got a ring, and I'm a big Yankee fan. So welcome to Furman.
All right, awesome. So I'm 1 for 1. It can only be done from here.
That's right. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a kind of bit of a whirlwind the last few days, but I'm catching my breath, and the easiest way to answer your question is I'm great. I'm ecstatic.
Tell us why this is a good move for you.
Well, there's lots of reasons. I started about 4 years ago thinking I was ready to start looking for AD opportunities, and I started a list of schools that I would consider if they were to come open, and Furman was on that list. Obviously, having kind of cut my chops at Wake Forest University, a lot of similarities between values and things that are important to both of these institutions. So for me, it just seemed like a great fit, not only professionally. I thought, I looked at my resume and what I've been able to accomplish, and I thought, surely I'd be a good fit there. But then, of course, you got to set about figuring out a way to convince the people at Furman to agree with you. But my family have always loved this area, and so it just made way too much sense to not pursue. And I feel very fortunate that enough people on the search committee, I guess, agree with my take on it.
What's the vision that you have for Furman athletics moving forward once you, now that you are in command, but once you get settled in and start to make those tough decisions?
Well, the vision is to win. I mean, that's why we do what we do. We want to win. We want to compete. But obviously, I think what makes Furman special is that we don't just take anybody. So we've got to win without sacrificing all the things that we hold dear, which are academics and character. We've got to find kids, and they're out there. Just find kids who can compete at this level, but are also going to take their education very seriously and represent themselves and their families in Furman University to the utmost degree. And like I said, there are schools out there that are doing it. And the great thing about Furman is they've done it to a large extent. I'm not inheriting a program that's broken or needs drastic change. I think Gary Clark is a great leader. So I'm fortunate to walk into a good situation, and I hope I can turn it into a great situation.
Having gone to school at Wake Forest and having played for Wake Forest and worked there for many years, you're going to a school that's maybe to some degree is a smaller version of Wake Forest in terms of the background of the school. And do you see kind of a seamless transition because of some of the similarities between the two?
I wouldn't say seamless is probably the right word, but it's probably a better fit than 99% of the opportunities that I could have seen out there. One of the things that I mentioned in one of the interview segments was the main difference between Wake Forest and Furman, in my opinion, is that back in 1953, Wake Forest signed a piece of paper that will join the Atlantic Coast Conference, and Furman decided to join the Southern Conference. And at that time, there was no rhyme or reason. But Wake Forest, for lack of a better term, picked the right conference, and that conference is taken off a little bit at a higher level, higher television contracts. But I think the ideals of both institutions are very similar, like you said, and I think it'll certainly help the transition. It gives me maybe some good credibility with the coaches that feel like I understand some of their challenges, and I certainly do. That'll help ease that transition for sure.
In your tour around campus and looking at the athletic facilities, and you see the work they've done at Paladin Stadium, which is just beautiful now, and the arena on campus for basketball. Do you already have some ideas in mind of some things you need to address facility-wise within the athletic program?
Nothing specific. I mean, there are obvious, there's improvements going on right now to the soccer stadium. I know baseball and football recently got a little bit of a facelift. One of the great things, my first campus was in mid-May, and it was breathtaking. I had heard how beautiful it was, but until you see it, it just didn't do it justice. So I was overwhelmed by the campus in general, and really pleasantly surprised by the athletic facility. I actually had a meeting with a select dozen or so student athletes during the interview, and I asked them around the room. They were representing all kinds of different sports, and I said, tell me which schools that you go compete against at their venues. Would you say have facilities? And to a person, they all said none. There's nobody that has better facilities. Of course, my first thought was to say, well, then why aren't we winning more?
Mm-hmm.
But I just didn't think that would be the right foot to get off on with these young people, and so that was encouraging. So I mean, there are always going to be the need for upgrades. We experience at Wake Forest. You try to keep up with those schools with whom you're competing, and of course, that you're talking Florida State and Clemson and larger state schools that have a lot more money to spend than we do. So really, what I'm excited about at Furman is we're already in a good shape from a facility standpoint. Like I said, we can always get better, but we're on a much more level playing field with the other schools in the SoCon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you look at even conferences at the Southern Conference level, it seems that the colleges and conferences especially, the word stability is not used much. It seems like a lot of volatility in the conference. So you're going into the Southern Conference, but have you looked at maybe down the road Furman as a member of the Southern Conference? Do you ever look at the conference expansion or other opportunities for other institutions like Furman, or you think the Southern Conference right now is a stable conference that Furman will enjoy many more years with?
Yeah, I certainly think it's a stable conference. It's a great group of institutions. Obviously, it's a different group than it was just 2 or 3 years ago. Certainly a lot of volatility. So my goal is to run a great athletic department that has success and wins, and we really are embraced by the city of Greenville and vice versa. And if we're attractive to another conference, we'd be crazy not to talk to them. But you have to be careful what you wish for. I can't think of a better fit from a geographical standpoint than the Southern Conference. So there's a lot of times there are schools out there who make the jump because they want to go to a different level, and then they realize that their $1 million travel budget just became $7 million because you got to jump on airplanes every other weekend. So there's so many layers to it. But at the end of the day, if we're attractive to other people, that means that we've done a good job. But I think the Southern Conference is a good fit and a great league.
All right, so now the important question: where do you keep your World Series ring?
I can't tell you that.
I mean, like, do you wear it?
I rarely wear it. It's funny. I said that in jest, but
yeah.
I started off as a fundraiser, and for the first 2 or 3 years that I worked raising money for Wake Forest, I literally kept it in a sunglasses bag, hung around the gear shift of my car, because I would get to all of these golf tournaments or lunches or dinners, and inevitably somebody at some point in the night would say, "Oh, where's your ring? I told so-and-so that you would wear it, and they want to see it." And so I just kept it in my car. And then, of course, one day my wife smacked me upside the head and said, "What if your car gets stolen?"
Mm-hmm.
So I keep it in a safe now, in a safe deposit box. But I rarely wear it, but coming to a new situation in Greenville, I'll probably throw it on a few times. It is a good conversation piece.
Well, you got to make room for those upcoming Furman championship rings that you hope to get here in the near future.
Amen.
Mike, thank you so much for being with us. Best of luck at Furman. Look forward to meeting you later on this fall and having you with us here on Sports Talk many times, talking about great things at Furman. New athletic director with the Furman Paladins, Mike Buddy, and we'll be back in a moment. Thanks again to Mike Buddy for being with us here on Sports Talk, former Major League Baseball pitcher with the Yankees and the Brewers, former Wake Forest star pitcher, administrator at Wake, now the AD at Furman. Speaking of baseball, Mike Morgan will be back with us eventually with our Braves report in his absence. I want to remind you about his sponsors with us here on Sports Talk. Play It Again Sports off Bauer Parkway in Columbia, where you pay less for more. You know what? I can offer a personal testimony to that because I was by there last weekend, and they will give you some great deals on new and used equipment. I bought a brand new 3-wood, tailor-made 3-wood. By the way, I hit it like a bazooka. Really hit it well. Great feeling club. And I'm embarrassed to tell you the deal I got for it. I'll just tell you, they will do a great deal for you, Chris Mosley. The staff, they're very friendly, as we've told you. Check it out. Play It Again Sports, Bauer Parkway in Columbia, and by Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals. All right. Wofford has announced its new class for its Hall of Fame. Going into the Hall of Fame at Wofford will be Anthony Jones, and he was an All-American in football, and Nick Sherman, he was an All-American in soccer, and Brandon Waring, he was an All-American in baseball. So congratulations to them. Also, the Hall of Fame will honor Wade and Mary Keisler, Distinguished Service Award, and Todd Shaughnessy as an honorary letterman. Todd's a writer in Spartanburg, been covering Wofford a long, long time. They did that with Pete Yannity many years ago as well. They honored him as an honorary member of the Hall of Fame or an honorary letterman or something like that. So congratulations to those folks. They'll be honored September 26th when the Terriers host Gardner-Webb in football. You know, I hope as word circulates today of my participation in a 59 that some Golf Hall of Fame people don't start calling and seeking, like maybe they want my cleats, maybe they want my putter.
Somebody
like
actually on Twitter was commenting on your golf shoes today. They didn't like them.
What's not to like about my golf shoes? They're
like
foot
you're wearing
joys.
sneakers.
No, they're foot
They didn't
joys.
even look like golf
Very-
shoes. This is not me, of course. This is coming from
He's
one of our
coming
fine
from
Twitter
somebody
followers
who doesn't really know what they're
that
talking
said they're
about.
surprised Spurrier even let you play wearing tennis shoes.
Not tennis shoes, they're foot joys. Very comfortable, very modern.
Did you putt first on every green?
No, they don't let the best putter do that.
Well, I just noticed that it looked like everybody was standing behind you when you were.
Well, yeah, they would
I
do
saw.
that. They would do that. When I rolled in that 30-footer, they were all behind me. You know, as that thing was creeping toward the cup, perfectly hit right down the middle with the perfect speed. I raised the putter as the ball got closer to the cup, and as the ball dropped into the cup, lifted the putter up like Jack Nicklaus did at Augusta. Remember that? Very similar moment. Very
And you
similar
fainted
moment.
after you did it.
And you gave Spurrier chest bumped, right?
No, we didn't do that. That would be too fan-like. We did fist, did the fist bump thing. That's what he prefers to do. So that was a highlight of the round. We were very hot on the backside. Got off to kind of a slow start. We really could have demolished the field. You know, I think we were all a little bit. We had to get used to playing with Spurrier. You know, I mean, listen, he's a guy that is
Very critical, isn't he?
Well, he's renowned for his golf, and he is he's known for his competitiveness. So we didn't want to disappoint. So we put a little self-induced pressure on ourselves, to play well and kind of. We were probably looking for that pat on the back, sort of that nod of approval.
What else did you? What was the swag? I know Spurrier gave you his golf balls.
He gave out golf.
What else did you win?
Titleist. What did he give us? Titleist.
Yeah, some Titleist Pro V1s.
Pro V1. A free round of golf at Cobblestone.
No,
it's very nice.
So is that a foursome?
It's a onesome.
Oh,
yeah,
too bad.
It's a onesome,
and you're not invited. I guess I'll go by myself. Is that on your desk?
You're not invited.
I'll grab that after the show.
Yeah. So by the way, Cobblestone Park, great shape.
The new clubhouse is
beautiful,
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, see, now we're playing with Spurrier.
And you play golf? You don't play golf.
I don't
pro.
play golf.
Yeah. Why is that?
And,
Why did you?
I just don't. I'm a person that when I
you play chess.
When I work out, no, I like when I work out. I like to work out like a hog. I like to sweat.
Well, you can do that playing golf.
Perspire. Yeah. No, you perspire when you play golf.
No, you can sweat pretty heavily. sweat pretty hard. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, now you don't have to ask how Spurrier treats his quarterbacks now as you've played him.
Yeah, I kind of, that's kind of what I related it to. The pressure of playing golf with Spurrier is sort of similar to being his quarterback with 80,000 people screaming at you.
Exact same thing.
I kind of
absolutely.
But you know what?
We should get Stephen Garcia. Let's call him up, and you guys can
much
talk
like
about what
Connor
it's like
Shaw
playing for
and
Spurrier.
Dylan Thompson and others.
Let's call Connor Shaw up, and
I held up under the demand and the pressure of the man.
Blake Mitchell. Let's get Blake on the line.
All right, final minutes to go here on Sports Talk. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. You've got some news on the Panthers, K-Mac?
Yeah, wide receiver Stephen Hill has been cited for knowingly possessing drug paraphernalia with intent to use. It happened in Concord a couple of days ago. Actually, today, a couple of days before the Panthers report to training camp. He was on the practice squad last year. Georgia Tech player, product, drafted in the second round by the Jets in 2012. They just didn't like how he has a tendency to drop a lot of passes. Not a good combination, but I'm not sure what the drug paraphernalia was and how they knew he had intent to use it. If you have it, how do you know if somebody has intent to use it?
Well, I guess would that not be based on the amount?
It says paraphernalia. It doesn't say any kind of possession. It doesn't say what kind of drug paraphernalia that he had. I mean, one could assume that it's probably some kind of smoking apparatus. I would imagine just going on a hunch. But how do you know that somebody has intent to use it? I intend to use this.
Admission.
Good question.
Maybe. Why would you admit that to a police officer?
Why can't he catch?
Well, that's true. Why wide receiver that he was.
Maybe that answers the question.
This is how tough it is for the Panthers. He was a guy that was going to push to maybe get into the rotation with Burnson, the former wide receiver from Wofford, and Jarrett Boykin, the former Georgia Bulldog. He was battling those guys for the number 6 spot.
Well, I don't think he has to worry.
That probably won't help
now.
his cause any.
No.
We'll see what Riverboat Ron says.
All right. Tomorrow night on Sports Talk, another big show for you. We'll be over at the Coaches for Charity event that's coming up tomorrow night at the Columbia Convention Center right here in downtown. We'll be there. Steve Spurrier will be there. Marcus Lattimore will be there. From Clemson, Dabo Sweeney will be there. Eric McClain will be there as well. So we'll talk to as many of those folks and others that we can get to on the show tomorrow night. Always a lot of fun. Fisher DeBerry and his group do a great job with this event, raise a lot of money, and we're expecting a big crowd over at the Convention Center tomorrow night. Look forward to bringing that to you.
I guess this is the last time the coaches can let down their hair before they get down to serious business.
Yeah, pretty much so.
2015
Publicly,
season.
I think so. South Carolina, Clemson, other schools all cracking it up. First part of next week, we'll be right there amongst them all. Looking forward to following practice, bringing the coaches to you after practice, players as well, and, of course, getting out and about with our Palmetto Pigskin Tour starting up in August. So it's going to be a very, very busy time for us here on Sports Talk. All right, final thoughts, K-Mac?
Trade deadline coming up. I expect the Dodgers to make a lot of moves to secure themselves into the World Series.
Looks like y'all going
Get ready
after,
for that.
Looks like y'all going after Price, the Yankees.
The price is wrong.
So is the Dodgers going after Price. All right, that'll do it. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.